This is the Horse Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Coach Jen in Ocala, Florida. No, you're not in the wrong podcast. Reese and Phil are out and about this week, so episode 678 features a herd of 6 different tips from amazing dressage experts from past episodes. Topics include riding with clarity, riding the anxious horse, getting young horses off to a good start, the importance of praise in your training routine, the benefits of using groundwork on a daily basis, and positively influencing rhythm.
We are so happy to have Natasha from YourRidingSuccess.com on for our Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week. Natasha, thanks for staying on the show tonight.
So excited. Can't wait to share a tip. Let's go.
We're excited. So tell us, what is your tip for this week? We love it.
Okay. So wherever you are in your riding, whatever you're doing, what I want you to think about is clarity. I want you to have that word in your brain for the day. And what I want you to think about when you think about clarity is, am I clear on what I want? Am I clear on what that looks like? Like, will I know when I've achieved it? Let's say if it's a trot canter transition, don't just say, I hope it's a good trot canter transition. What is a good one? Does it mean that the rhythm doesn't change? Does it mean that the head doesn't change? Does it mean that the horse goes uphill into it? Does it mean that it's seamless? What does it look like? How will you know when you've done it? How will you know when you haven't done it? What's your plan for getting it? If you ask and you don't get that transition, what's your plan? If you ask and you do get that transition, what's your plan? The more clarity you have about what you want, what you're looking for, and what you're going to do, what success and not success looks like, then the more fun you're going to have.
Yeah, I think, I've heard this a lot from Robert Dover, and he was just teaching the horse mastership. So a lot of my students caught that online. And I think what's really important and what's really going to lead to success is being the more specific you can make your vision, the better it will be, or the more chance of success, like you said, don't just say, I'm going to make a canter transition. You're going to make a canter transition that has how much weight on your inside rein, how much weight on your outside rein, how much bend do you want? Like, just make a very, very clear picture, paint it in your brain before ever sitting on the horse, or as you're, I kind of do this as I'm warming the horse up, walking around. I'm like making very specific. I want to have a perfect feeling in my mind before I can create a perfect feeling on my horse.
So good. And especially, like, I don't know if anyone does this, like, I just do it for fun. Sometimes I go, I'm not going to ask the aid. I'm just going to think it. And I'm sure my body changes because of my thought, but I go 1, 2, 3, just think canter, and boom, it's there. And you're like, how is that? Like, it's because that picture and that transition is boom in the head, and the horse goes, yep, I know what we're doing.
Well, and I think just in general, right, this is something we work on, all of us, every day, is being very clear with what we're asking. Because really, riding a dressage horse is all about communication and what you're saying. And I'm working at the Grand Prix with my new horse. He's newer to me. And I literally was looking at the video like, oh my gosh. And in the test, I went for the biggest passage I could get, and I got a great canter transition. And it was my fault. Clearly, that's what he thought I asked him. He's very happy to do whatever I asked him. And I thought, and I was just going for this huge passage, and obviously not the right aid. So, I mean, you can take it from any level. And from a training level on up to the highest level, it's all about the communication. Yeah. So it makes complete sense, right? That you need to be clear. And I think that that's so important to think about as you're writing and, well, any communication, right? Everything has to be clear. So it makes complete sense. And I think that we as riders, you get a lot of things. There's so much to think about in your brain, right? And so getting the clear aid to the horse sometimes is a challenge, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think in the Grand Prix, like we're like big, everything's big. And, I know for me and my Grand Prix horse, he loves the one-time tempi. So especially for the two, I have to go and I have to leave my leg there. Because if I just relax the leg, well, then that means another like it's like 1, 2. And so we have to be so much more deliberate about everything that we do and ask and move, because as you said, the horse is trying to, he wants to do everything we ask for. And if we move inadvertently, well, what messages are we sending?
Right. No, it's so true. Well, Natasha, tell us, where can we find more information about you and your website? We love all your information. How can we find out more?
Yeah, you can go to yourridingsuccess.com. You can, there's heaps of free resources on the website there, or you can check me out on all the social media, YouTube, Your Riding Success, Facebook and Instagram, Your Riding Success, and we also have a podcast, Your Riding Success.
We love other podcasters. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we look forward to talking with you in the future.
Pleasure. Happy riding, everyone.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Feeding your horse starch-laden grains can lead to colic, laminitis, and metabolic disease. Today, nutritionists are recommending the use of high-quality fat to provide healthy calories. Fat is an extraordinary energy source. It's readily utilized by the horse and contains more than 2 times the calories of starchy grains. Replacing grain with a high-quality fat supplement reduces a horse's risk of developing health problems. Equijewel Stabilized Rice Bran is an excellent fat supplement. It contains a balanced calcium to phosphorus ratio and won't cause mineral imbalances when added to the diet. Its all-natural ingredients are high in healthy fat and fiber. And best of all, horses fueled by Equijewel stay calmer and more focused on the job at hand. When you need to add healthy calories to your horse's diet, choose Equijewel. To learn more, visit Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
We are so happy to have FEI rider and trainer Angela Jackson on the program. Welcome, Angela.
Thanks for having me.
We were going to talk about today, when do you ride a horse boring?
Yeah, I sometimes underride a horse a little bit just because I feel anxiety in the horse, and especially in young horses. The mind cannot handle what the body sometimes produces. So if I feel that is just way too much, I have to trust my feeling, and I can only ride the horse to what the mind can handle at that time. And if that means a little on the boring side, then that's what I have to do.
When we were just talking, I said, I was just saying how much I agree with this so much. And I get a little bit irritated when people are riding young horses at like over tempo, just to show off their leg movement, basically. And you can see that this just produces so much anxiety in the horses and problems. Maybe not problems in the moment, but you're going to have problems at some point in the horse's training because it lacks relaxation and it lacks trainability.
Correct.
And it's just kind of a pet peeve of mine. Just because you can ride them super forward and super fancy doesn't mean that's good for them or that you should. So, in my program, when I'm starting 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, I really like to just ride them boring and ride them a little, kind of relaxed in the contact.
Yeah.
And in some of my lessons too, I have riders just make them quiet, make them jog like a quarter horse. And
Correct.
Later on, you can make them as fancy as you want. Mm-hmm. But if they don't have good balance, and you got to remember that a horse is a flight animal. So by chasing them, you're inducing flight responses.
Absolutely.
And it's just problematic. I just see it too much and
you're
too much of a horse
absolutely
show.
correct. Absolutely correct. I think the confidence in the young horse and the trust has to be developed, and the mental education is just as important as making them go for that big fancy trot. Now, I'm not saying that that there's certain young horses that can handle that, and they're easy with it, and they have the mental capacity to handle it just fine. And if they do, then for all means, go for it. But I just remember that when I was working student for Klaus, that he always come in the arena and it's like, you cannot do, and even the upper level movements, he would educate them in half tempo or in half throttle and just repeat the motion in an easy without power, and just work on what you were saying, the relaxation and the suppleness. That's why it's in the bottom of the training scale. And just repeat the technique. And then once the horse is confident and trusting, you can put that power to it and make it super expressive. But then the trust is there. And I think that it goes up in the training scale, and it goes up in the training, but it's all the same. The trust and the relaxation and the suppleness have to be there later on when you put the power in. And I think a lot of people forget that.
I love, too, that you said to do this with FEI horses. I completely agree, because there's some times that you have to do it with FEI horses as well. And so all horses, you can't go around legs flying everywhere all the time. You have to really, really think about, take your time, and like you said, the repetition. And then there's times, even in the horse show ring, maybe you just want a clean, quiet test. And so you don't go in full throttle. Versus going in and you may get legs a flying, but you may also get mistakes. And so you have to learn sort of with your horse what exactly you're trying to do with that particular horse and what is the goal. So again, if you're going legs a flying, you have to understand why you're doing that. And do you have all of the training scale, or are they literally just tossing their legs? Wouldn't you say? A lot of horses just toss their legs, but they're not through.
Right, correct. And again, I think the relaxation and the throughness then gets a little compromised. And then it shows in certain ways. You see some horses with real tongue issues or, other behavioral issues that, yes, it looks like, you're riding and you're getting this bigger movement, but you also see the swooshing, turning tail. These are usually signs of the circle. The 8 of the circle is just broken a little bit. You get, I think in Germany we call it Schenkelgängers versus back movers. Leg movers. Leg movers. Back movers. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think we get a little bit of that. But I think with it, and it starts with the young horse, to get back to our thing earlier. I think the young horses have to, me coming from Germany, the auction riders that get these big fleshy trots, they really, throw in the power and they load them up on the hands. And we always make a joke out of it. If you buy a horse at the auction, throw it out for 3 months and start over.
Yeah. That's true.
That's true.
I mean, you guys have all heard that. And that's why, because they just create this false tension. And then you just have to kick him out in the field and say, forget about it, and then start over again and work on the suppleness and the throughness and over the back and just gymnasticizing the horse a little bit more so that engagement can be created in the correct way.
Yeah, no, I think that's
in the correct way. So,
in the correct way, right? And so learning to be able to do that is incredibly important, and really know what you're doing versus just flying around. Because like you said, the auction riders are trying to sell horses that trot big. They're not trying to ride them, right? Like turn them.
Yeah. Well, they go only in an oval. I got to remember, they have a stiff horse that is right between the reins and the legs, and you go forward and legs are flying, and there is no circle, and there is, these kind of things. So you have to keep that in mind. So a lot of people then get a little disappointed when they go home and they look a little more normal. But it has to be developed. And the horse has, again, to me, I think trust is a big thing. The horse has to trust and has to learn trust. I get here and there some horse, and it's a shame because I had a couple of very nice young horses that came in after the fact that they can do young horse classes because somebody tried and maybe failed and then they come to me, and I just fix the horse. I never showed it, but it came to me. They had tried for 2 years to put a flying change on the horse, and it was completely fried. I mean, you couldn't even, if you just as much as cantered and tried to ride a diagonal, all hell would break loose. I mean, it just had an anxiety meltdown. And so we just worked on simple, basic, ABCs again, like what I would teach a 4-year-old. And we just started right from scratch, even though this is already an older horse. And I'm like, look, you just have to just chill. And, we are now, how long are we in it? 4 or 5 months into it, and I'm now able to do a clean change left and right. But it's just one of those things where you just have to go and say, look, they already get so worried because there's all XYZ. They're starting to kick and they're starting to pull and they're starting to throw you over and off balance and this and that. And more anxiety builds up. And before you know it, like I said, I was not able to ride even as much as I attempted a diagonal line. It was not possible. It was not possible.
Right.
So then you have to just make lots and lots of small little transitions and teach the ABC again. And that's it.
Right.
And gotta be patient.
You got to be patient. And so, but I love the idea of, controlling that tempo and controlling, not going full throttle. I think that that's such a great tip. Angela, thank you so much for coming on the show again tonight. And we so appreciate you and all that you do and all of your training. So thank you for coming. Well, tonight, I am so very happy to have Angela Jackson on the program with us. She's an FEI rider and trainer, also a friend of mine. And Angela, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, this weekend, we were at the same White Fences Horse Show here in Wellington. Actually, it's in Loxahatchee, and it's a little bit of a calmer environment than the other showgrounds in Wellington. So it's a little better environment. And I looked up and I saw what was going on, and I just loved it. And I'll give everybody a quick backstory. I saw you coaching a very well-known rider who was an FEI rider with a young horse. And I know this particular rider has never done a young horse. And I just thought it was such a cool thing to watch. So I just wanted to bring you on the show to kind of have you explain what you were doing, why you were doing it. It was just really cool. So I'm glad to have you on the show.
Yes. Yeah. As young horses is what I do, but it's not for everyone. And so when we found this really exciting, nice Greenbroke 3-year-old, literally not even 30 days under saddle, still kind of on the lunch line, we had a talk, and it's her new horse. And she, I think, acquired enough skill of riding, and she wanted to do it herself. And she asked me if I could help her do it. And I told her, absolutely. So, we are trying to bring now this young upcoming rider and this young upcoming horse on the same page and learn together. And I think that we had a really, really good first weekend. So it was the first time that she did ever a material class for 3 and 4-year-olds and the horse's first horse show. And it actually went just like we had planned it. Was a little excited the first day. It got a little better the second day, and learned to be on the trailer, which is a big thing. They're not very patient, these young horses, and so she and as more she was riding the horses, more she got confident that she could actually do this, and they did quite well.
So let us into your training program a little bit. What were the conversations? What were the expectations in going to this first horse show, and then maybe after we can talk about, what was the training that actually happened?
Well, so right now, I mean, there's riders out there that obviously do it for a profession like I do, and you can go in and really challenge the horses a little bit. You're a little bit more prepared on if something happens to react in the right way. Now, that is obviously not necessarily the case now with this inexperienced rider. So our expectations were that we're going to have a calmer young horse in the ring that is listening. And we had a game plan going in. This is a very nice young horse, will be very nice. And our goal is to make it a very nice Grand Prix horse, which I think it will be. But to ride this weekend, I didn't want any of that. I literally told her, I said, you need to remember your hunter hack days. You need to relax your pelvis. You need to soften. And what I said was, you got to keep it very simple. You just let the body follow the nose. Because there's really not much else you can,
it's
really
perfect.
not much else you can do. And I said, if you need to make a circle, these material classes are designed to give young horses confidence. We are allowed to do, circles or do straight lines unless the judge specifically asks us to do something. But every horse has a different stride. So sometimes if there's 3 or 4 horses in there, which there were this weekend, one horse has a bigger stride than the other, then you have to turn and you're allowed to do so. And I think that gives horses confidence, and it gives also the confidence of having other horses in there with them. It's not so scary for them because you've got to build that trust that this is okay. You don't want to start out with a phobia of fear to go in there. I think the biggest mistake that is made with young horses is that people think about, I have to write a test. And I just want them to be with the environment and learn and get comfortable, and they have to trust the rider, and the rider has to trust the horse as well. I think that was one thing that I had to stress to Kelly, and I told her, you have to trust that he will be there for you. And he was.
It looked, what I saw was great. And the first day you rode him a little bit around, you were on him maybe both days. I'm not sure. Tell us the process. I mean, like you said, getting on the trailer, getting to the horse show. This is quite an open environment, actually, this particular showground.
Yes,
it's open.
I like this showground a lot because it has a very secure lunging area. Which was good for the young horse. The first day, the horse was really overstimulated with everything. I mean, there was so much to take in. And so that secure round pen area at White Fences is quite nice for young horses. So that was good that we had this very nice secure lunging area. And I just wanted to make sure that the horse can play and go and let all that anxiety out until it was really relaxing and just trotting with a little bit of relaxation and letting the neck just go and taking a breath. So, and I don't know how long that will take. It depends from horse, but I have to read the body language of the horse. So once we had accomplished that, I wanted to make sure that the horse was safe to ride for her, because the plan was if the horse was overstimulated and couldn't handle the electric environment, that I would probably have been the one that had shown the horse. But I went in there, and yes, it was a little scared, but it had a good brain, and I felt confident that my rider could ride the horse safely, because there's a safety issue too. And she got on, but she was a little tense, and the horse started to feed up on that. And I could tell that it got a little bit hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. And so I said, let me get back on. And she got off, I got back on, and I talked loud on what I was feeling and what I was doing. And I just, me knowing the rider, I kind of knew what she was doing. And I was explaining to her that that's what was causing the reaction in the horse. So then I made her get back on the horse after I kind of cleared that tension away. And then she followed my instructions on how to react to what she was feeling, because it was the reaction to what she was feeling that was a little bit wrong. And as soon as she figured that one out, boom, she had it. And then she could, I think you saw her then the next day, where she was so much better in the way she was. We call it in Germany a remonte seat, which is a lighter seat, or I think I can only translate it into a hunt seat almost, like a lighter
seat. Like a 2-point.
2-point kind of.
Where you're just, on your ankles and knees a little bit. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So you stand a little bit in the stirrup, and you just, just like a jumper would do or a hunter would do, just a little bit to release the tension in the back, because they're so weak in the back. Mm-hmm. And really you don't have much of a connection. And I said, it's not really that you can give a correct half halt, because obviously the horse doesn't know that yet. Yeah. I said, when you feel the balance leave you, instead of just really trying to aid strongly, you just close both reins, both fingers, and both fists, and you just kind of hold a little bit against it, because you have to keep it that simple to the horse. And you just close both reins, and just make it, just take that a little bit and make it wait like that, with nothing else and keep standing softly in a little bit lighter seat in it and just wait until it understands, oh, that's meaning slow down. And then you just release your fingers again when you have the tempo you really desire. And then the horse understands, oh, okay, so this is where we need to be. And that works a whole lot better. Again, for an upper level rider, it's very hard to not want to use the education you have received with hop-halls and leg ails and seat aid and all that to bring the horse under, but that doesn't work with a 3-year-old horse.
Yeah, I think there's an important point in here in that, even if you're riding, even if you've got a young horse at home and you want to take it to a show, it's well worthwhile to maybe hire an experienced rider to give it a good experience, because I think if you're going to a show and you're not super confident, or you can give the horse a really bad and a really scary experience if the anxiety from the horse and rider are just feeding each other. And sometimes with a young horse, I know this, I've ridden a lot of them, but they drag you over to the corner of the ring or something, and then you have to respond in the right way. And for sure, they're going to probably go a little bit too fast, or just not try to ignore you, but you can be ignored when there's so much other stuff going on, right? And or if you're you're used to riding
it's a party.
So
it's a party, actually. They're thinking like, this is great. This is party.
Yeah. And
it's
especially if you
to the mind, to the young mind.
Sure.
Compute it all. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you need to
you're absolutely correct.
You need to be able to speak their language a little bit and just and literally talk to them. I mean, like, you don't have to be up there being real physical. You just have to. And if it's going bad, you just retire and you come back another day. But this is the most important experience in a horse's life. If you want to continue on, you have to do it the right way.
Yeah. I think the expectation sometimes is, oh, he did it at home. What's the problem? You lose, maybe not half, but you lose a lot at the show. Because like you said, Reese, it's a party. There's so much to take in, and they don't know what to take in first. As you know, we are smaller stables. Everybody has like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 in a smaller. There's not like that much going on. So these horses have only a stimulant here and there. But suddenly there's all this going on. Trailers coming, horses screaming. The ring over there, people walking, dogs walking. I mean, there's so much to take in, and the openness in itself.
Yes.
So you have to remember, it doesn't matter if it's a good teaching or a bad teaching. You teaching.
Yes.
It's an experience. It's a learning. But it's a learning in a good way, and that's what you want to do, or a learning in a bad way.
Yeah. And I think too, what I really noticed and loved was, this is a skill. Riding a young horse is a very different skill than riding an FEI horse. It's like teaching kindergarten and teaching college students. Everybody's teachers. I teach college. I don't know how to teach little kids. I would walk into a kindergarten and be like, I don't know. Like, I'm not trained. I don't do that. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to deal with the little kids. Right. And that's what we're talking about here. And what I loved was you were specifically teaching your FEI rider, who's a very good rider, very successful rider, that this is a different skill. And this may not be her niche, like in life. Like, I am not. You guys are both one of 2 young horse riders that I respect so greatly. I don't like riding young horses. It's like, I wouldn't like teaching kindergarten. It's not my thing. I just don't like, I don't like little beings. Like, it's not my thing. Yeah. But the fact that
she wants to do another one, but she's challenging herself, and I'm proud of her to do so.
Me too, because you need to know and have that skill. Because maybe someday she can work with someone else on the ground or help or what. I mean, it's a great skill to be, because you've also trained very good professional young riders who are very good young riders or young horse riders, so that they, have all the skills. And that's what I love, because it's recognizing. I think that's kind of where I wanted to go with this interview, is that not everybody, you have to get that skill. You have to be trained to have that skill. And young horses require learning that skill. And it's really important. And I just thought that was what was so cool, because it was recognizing that this is a skill that needs to be taught to this rider so that she knows, number one, how to do it. Because if you ride an FEI horse and have done young riders and juniors, that horse was trained by someone at some point. Most kids don't train, and nor should they be able to train that horse, but they learn the aids and they learn what's going on, but they don't know how to install the leg yield button. Like, somebody had to do that.
Yeah.
So it's so important that young riders, young professionals, then once they have those skills on how to do it, then go back and work with someone like yourself who is so good with young horses that you can teach that skill of how do we install the leg yield button, or how do we install the half halt button. But you have to take that time, step back and say, well, this is not something I know how to do, and I need to learn it from somebody who's very good at it. And that's what I just thought was so cool about the whole event, was I was like, this is cool because this person is learning how to do this. And this is a hard thing and very different than what she's done before.
Yeah. I think also the expectation is a little bit false sometimes when I watch and look at, at horse shows with people who are not as experienced. They're either disappointed or they wonder what went wrong, when maybe not necessarily anything went wrong. That's the tricky part.
Yeah.
It's really understanding the learning curve of this young horse. What that horse learned over those 4 days at the show, with the schooling day included, is I cannot teach at home. And so the positive teaching that happened this weekend then will, carry over to the next. And sometimes, here's what I have done also in the past. Sometimes I enter something and thinking, okay, I can maybe do it. I can do it at home, but I'm not so sure that I can do it at the show. But I don't want to not have entered it. And then I realize, the horse has learned it can do it. But I was thinking, it's not going to figure it out. So sometimes I enter something and it gives me options on what I will do with that horse and where the state of mind is of that horse. So even though I can do it at home, if the state of mind of the horse is not right, if I try to go in there and try to make it do it, I actually do more harm than I do good. And that is something I think a lot of people get frustrated here, because we don't have many young horse trainers in this country. We have a few good ones, but I think in general we need more on a medium level, maybe not to the national championship level. I think, and that is something, and I don't know if this is the appropriate place here, but I think if we would have a regional young horse class, which we don't have, we have only a national young horse class. But if we would have like a regional young horse class, I think more trainers that maybe not comfortable taking on the young horse would maybe do it, or at least try to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think it was such a cool thing, because there were like 3 or 4 4-year-olds. I'm not sure. Yeah. I was warming up with you guys, so and thankfully Big Mike doesn't care. I was like, you can bump right into him. He doesn't care.
Working and preparing for your class, but you caught it off the corner of your eye.
Yeah, but there were a couple youngsters.
Was not always perfect, so we were in your eye.
And I noticed, and I said, it's fine. My horse doesn't particularly care about that stuff. So I said, no problem. But there were like 3 or 4 of them. And I thought that was so cool, because again, going into that material class and using those, and it's early. I mean, it's February, right? No, it's March. Sorry. Yeah. It's early in the year. These are still very, I'm like, what?
Yeah, they're not 4 yet.
They're not 4 yet. They're still babies. So I just really thought it was cool. I thought it was really worth our time in our discussion of, really kind of knowing when you need help, knowing who to call, and having that person help you with a plan. And with a young horse, that is a fluid plan that's going to change depending on what happens in the environment. But I just thought it was just really cool to watch. And I wanted people to know that these programs exist. And if it doesn't, then you should talk to someone in your area that can help you, and give your horse and yourself.
Research a little bit. Do your research a little bit, though, because there's a lot of people that say that they do it, but they're not necessarily that good with young horses. So do a little research on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was just going to speak on the national versus regional thing. I mean, when horses are slated for the national young horse classes, or even, going to Europe and doing the international young horse classes. I think people are willing to invest because these horses are normally pretty spectacular. But I think all horses, deserve a good start and a good experience, going to a horse show. And that's where I think I can agree with the regional thing is like, okay, maybe they're not spectacular horses, but these young horses need to go out to horse shows.
Yeah, it's the same.
Training has to be the same.
Yeah.
Consistent
and that's
and
what I'm
kind.
talking about. You're correct. And I think on the regional level, I think a lot of people are not really interested in doing these young horse classes. It's because they see only these big pictures of these fancy horses, like you said, on the national, on the international, and they're like, well, I cannot compete with that. So why would I even try? And I said, that's a shame, because I think you'd be surprised. Like some horses, I had young horses that couldn't do anything at 4, and you thought, oh my gosh, this is never going to do anything. But then they find themselves, and then suddenly, whoops, there they are, and they make wonderful FEI horses and very successful FEI horses.
Yeah.
In the right
But
hands.
they learn in the right hands, and they've been
Yes.
taught well, right? They have good confidence. They go to the horse show,
Correct.
Like you said, like just even getting on the trailer and standing on the trailer. And in Florida, there are some stabling, but in general, the horses show off the trailer. When we're in Kentucky, Angela's also in Kentucky, the horses usually go and stay at the horse show. So it's a
Yes.
totally different skill of like showing off the trailer and having to stand on the trailer. I have some FEI horses that don't like stand on the trailer. Like they have to learn, like, this is how this happens. And this is what goes on. And, it's a bit different program. And so I think it's really important to do that with these horses. And so that they learn and they understand but this is every horse. I mean, this particular horse and rider, we want them, and I would love to see them be an FEI horse in a few years. But, like you said,
at least.
yeah, but every horse deserves a start like this, even if it's not slated to be an FEI horse. If it's going to be, there's so many ranges of horses, but every young horse deserves this opportunity of having a good start at a horse show. And, if you're not the most, comfortable or competent rider, then, work on finding someone that is, or finding someone that will do this, where you're working together with someone. And that was what was so cool about this, was this young horse and rider clearly had a good experience. And it just needs to happen more, because these horses, these FEI horses, it does not happen overnight. It takes years, but it takes years of things like this, of going to the horse show.
Absolutely.
Positive reinforcement. So, but again, Angela, it was so cool to watch. I thank you for all you do. I thank you for the mentoring you do of all the young riders. It's fantastic. And we wish you and your whole team a great rest of Florida. And we're so happy you came on the show with us. Well, tonight, I'm so happy to have Alice Tarjan on the line. Alice, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we are so excited to have you discuss. You've got a great thing, because you're very successful training young horses and international Grand Prix horses all the way up. So what is our trainer tip of the week?
It would be to praise horses for effort and ideas rather than for actual things. So, for instance, if you want to take the P off, it starts with barely looking like anything, where you just want your horse to jig a little bit. And anything towards that idea, I would praise, even though it's going to take a while before it actually looks like a P-off per se. So I'm very careful as long as the horse gives me effort, I'll praise it. And as long as the horse is thinking in the right direction, I'll praise that too, even if it's not actually getting to the ultimate, whatever it's going to look like, whether it's a flying change or a pirouette or a P-off quite yet.
Well, and I love this tip, because I think all of us, I've certainly done it. It's not exactly in my mind what I want. Maybe it's not a Piaffe. Instead of thinking about development, right? And that's what I think is so important that you think about as you're doing this, is how is the horse developing? Are they thinking the way you want them to think, right? I mean, that's what I'm taking from this, and as a good reminder as well.
Yes, for sure. For sure. I try to praise the horses and for thinking the right ideas, and for giving me effort, for trying. And even if they try and they give me the wrong thing, I'll praise that too, just because I want them to feel like they can make as many mistakes as they want. That's okay, but they just have to try to play the game.
Yeah, when I'm training horses or trying to help people train their own horses, I start to think about, what are the ingredients I'm trying to instill in the horse's training, you guys were talking about Piaffe, and that's great, but even all the way down to a leg yield, where you think, what's the simple ingredient I need, moving away from the leg, and then as long as they move away from the leg, even if it's not super lateral with front end and back end, and it's, it's not a perfect leg yield, but if you're trying to introduce a new concept to the horse, then you have to praise anything that's in the direction of, a leg yield, for instance, or a half pass or a travers, even if you've got a great idea of what it will be in the future, you need ingredients first, and you need the idea first, and then you can add the polish and the power and the strength.
Absolutely. So like thinking about the leg yield. So like if you put your leg on your horse and it didn't move away from your horse, right? And you ask again and again, you still don't get anything. And then you tap it with the whip and maybe it jumps off the whip and goes forward. But at that point, I would still praise the horse because it still did something, even though it didn't even move off the leg laterally. At least it did something off the leg, right? So it's thinking in the right direction. Yeah. So you praise it and then you go back again and say, now if you can move it a little bit sideways. Yeah. But any kind of effort or idea going towards the right direction for me is more than enough, and to take the pressure off.
Well, I think that's
absolutely, it's great.
So important, because I think as riders, we can be pretty laser focused. So you really have to think like that. Like the horse did respond. It wasn't exactly right, but there was a response. Because I think if you shut them down, then, eventually the horses are like, I don't know what you want, and I don't want to try. So I think that's...
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think that they have to, and again, even if it's a mistake, like you would say, okay, so you tapped the horse and it went forward rather than sideways, and that's not what you're looking for. But it did do something. It made an effort to play the game. And for me, that's all they have to do is put the effort forward. Yeah, that's it. And then it's a matter of trying to direct the energy and show them which way to put that energy, per se. Yes. But I think that people say, well, no, it was still naughty because it didn't move off the leg and I asked it to move sideways. And for me, it's like, no, the horse did do something. It just doesn't understand. That's okay. They can make as many mistakes as they need to along those lines. Like mistakes are fine. I'm good with mistakes.
Yeah. I think so too. And then you at the end of the day, you get horses that'll fight for you, and they want to understand what you want. So I think it's in the beginning.
Getting rewarded for the effort. Absolutely. Yeah.
No, I love it. Well, Alice, thank you. This is a great reminder for all of us, as you're riding every day, like, what am I asking for? And is my horse trying? And you do such a beautiful job with your horses. So thank you so much for your time tonight for our tip.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, tonight we are so happy to have Jennifer Schrader-Williams on the show with us again. She is an international Grand Prix rider and owner of Somerville Premier Dressage. Jennifer, welcome back.
Hi, it's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, you have a great tip for us this week, which we have never had before. So I'll let you get started.
Yeah, I just thought a really nice tip would be to focus on a few minutes of groundwork every day before your riding session. I often see people come in the arena where the horse, first off, bowls them over at the mounting block sometimes.
Yeah.
And secondly, once they get on, maybe doesn't necessarily walk off, doesn't really go in front of the legs for a few minutes, and maybe runs through their hand right off the get-go. And so some of the things that I've learned in my many years of trying horses for sale or getting horses in that are for sale, that I want to test a few things on the ground first. And really, I do this because it's for my safety, and it really saves my body. And this can be a really short test. It does not have to be an elaborate session. But literally, if I just go and cluck to the horse, this is on the ground, I'm standing next to him, I might even hold the reins up by the wither as if I'm close to a riding position and I'm walking along the side of the horse. I cluck to the horse and I just ask him to trot. And right there, I generally will have a very good feel if he's going to tell me absolutely not, or if he's going to run me over. So I trot the horse for a few steps, and then I halt the horse. And when the horse halts, again, does he stop with me at my shoulder, or does he just run me over? And so this can be very simple: cluck, trot, halt, the horse doesn't run you over. And when you establish that foundation on the ground, it truly carries over into the saddle. And it's also a really great precursor to what we're going to do when we start the horse in hand and starting with half steps down the line. I just start to bring that pressure a little bit more contained. And my cluck means go, and my body means don't run me over. So it's just one of the tips that I check in on, and I've found myself to be feeling a lot safer in the saddle on a horse I don't know when I test those two pieces before I get on.
Yeah, I think that's really great because, a horse that will, kind of push you around while you're trying to lead them, or just, in the stall or in the grooming stall, like, they have to have manners. Otherwise you're not setting a good tone. You're not setting a good tone for when you want to get on top. And then, like, you have to be the boss kind of, or a good leader. I'm going to say you got to be a good leader all the time.
Yeah. And I'll say too, it just a few minutes of that work in hand really warms up their back, and it gives you a completely different feel when you get on them, that they already feel like they're ready to go in front of the leg. They already feel like they're ready to be softer in the contact and a little bit more access into their hindquarters. So it's just something, I've learned it the hard way, like many things in my life, but I've gotten on horses that I haven't tested and said, hey, let's get forward. And I've gotten a surprise every now and then of their opinions of that. So it's just something that I can get that test down to about 20 seconds up to the mounting block. And I don't always trot and I don't always halt, but I test that I could. And that's a little bit more down the line, but it's just a lot of horses feel like we're in a good communication and sets a good tone for the ride often.
Well, and I have to be honest, I've been bucked off getting on a horse. It was my own horse, but I've been bucked off getting on. So I think this is such a good thing. I kind of do this myself because, I learned the hard way. And I think it's really important.
I've learned that exact lesson as well.
Yes, exactly. And so once you've had that happen, like I'm pretty cautious now getting on because of that. And really my horses have to stand still. Like, that's not a negotiating thing. And, so I think it's such a good thing to do. And especially a horse you don't know. I also think it's good to have somebody hold the horse when you get on. That's my thing. Or if you're off the property or something and you don't know the horse, it's just a safety thing too. But like I said, I got bucked on my own horse. So, but he could be a little tricky. It was cold and we were at a horse show and I thought he was okay. And obviously he wasn't. But I learned my lesson. So I think that that's such a smart thing to do. So Jennifer, I love it. And I even love it, when you're trying sales horses or you're trying horses you don't know, because even all three of us are professional riders and we're saying, oh yeah, we do that. But especially if we're not used to getting on new horses and you're in a new environment, of course, you're probably a little nervous. The horse is picking up on that. So I think that those are all such good tips. I love it.
I was just going to say, and even just with some days off, it is a nice little quick way to test them. And it takes 30 great. You have it's no big deal. But if you find something that's not working, then you have an opportunity to address it before you're back.
Yes, like maybe a lunge. We've had some funny temperatures, and it's like, maybe that horse needs, but it gives you a heads up on what you're getting that day. Even on horses, it's not a bad idea. Like you said, we had that happen. Had a student come in yesterday that was like, that weather change, I really should have lunged him. He was a little bit, she was okay. Everything was fine. But I thought, we dropped to like 40 degrees. So not a bad idea to kind of check in. So I love it from a safety, but also just for the productivity of your ride. I think that's great. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for that tip. I love it. How can our listeners find you online?
Yeah, so I am on Somerville Premier Dressage on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And we have a great website, somervillepremierdressage.com, that you can go and read about history, about the horses we have for sale, about the horses we're competing. And we have some really great sponsors that have been keeping us going for years. Halter Ego, Kingsley Boots, Albion Saddles has been with me for, 15 years. And Triple Crown Feed and Adeptus Nutrition. They're all keeping our horses looking beautiful and keeping me looking nice in the show ring. And they've been a great support.
Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on the show. And we wish you luck this summer.
Thank you so much. We're going to really enjoy our time together and keep working to improve every day.
Well, Phil, I actually lied. We have a horse show this weekend too. Yeah. Is it this weekend? Yeah. Not this Saturday, but the Saturday after. And Neo, my youngster, is going to go. And I have the Rose halter, and it is from Trust Design, and it is so cute on him. I love it. And he's going to go to the horse show with that halter on. It's a little schooling show, nothing super fancy. My sister's going to ride as well. So it's her first time at a horse show in a long time. And so I let her borrow one of my halters for her horse, Danny. And it's going to be great. We're going to pull the horses up, under the trees with the trailer. And I can't wait to have his little halter on. So I know you guys are going to be sporting it in Canada as well.
I really think that the pink on the dark horses really stands out nicely and just gets the horses noticed and shows off really, really well. So everybody, listeners can get their Trust Design halters at www.trustdesign. That's TRVST.com. And we've got a discount code for you. If you enter HRN, you're going to get 10% off on checkout. So that's perfect. And we thank them over there for all their support.
Well, I'm very excited to have Bridget Brown. She is currently in Germany training with Dorothy Schneider. Bridget, welcome back to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, we know you have a great Total Saddle Fit trainer tip of the week for us. What you got?
So something that Dorothy always tells all of the riders here is to positively influence the horse's rhythm by making a rhythm with your seat.
Fantastic. So elaborate for us.
Yeah.
So this means that in the trot, for example, to help to influence your horse to have swing and cadence by swinging with your hip in the rhythm. And then the same goes for the canter. If your horse tends to maybe have be behind the rhythm or to have a 4-beat canter rather than a 3-beat canter, you can help influence this through really feeling the rhythm through your seat bones into the saddle and helping encourage the horse along. She always says, show them the way.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's really important for riders to have their own sense of tempo and their own sense of a metronome so that they can influence. Like the horses aren't, I don't know very many that have a very natural, perfect, tempo in their trot, walk, and canter. So riders have to kind of know what to do with what they've got, right? If you have a horse that has a very quick tempo, then you're going to want to just sit an extra millisecond and stay out of the saddle an extra millisecond in the trot, in rising trot, for instance, so the horse looks to the rider for that confidence and that good rhythm.
Yes, exactly. And she also tells us to keep your body tension through the rhythm. Just like you said, if a horse has too high of a tempo, you can keep your body tension to slow the rhythm down through your seat.
Well, I think the idea is really good too. I know some people, like let's say maybe you're not gifted at that, or you have some, you need some help. There's some great apps, actually, some metronome apps you can get on your phone, or you can even pull out. There is an actual thing called a metronome, and you can pull it out. And actually that can help a lot of people, which is quite cool.
Yes, I actually used to play music, so I think that's a little part of my history that helps me a little bit with my riding.
Oh, I love to play music when I ride. I love it. I think the horses love it. I love it. Kind of gets me in the groove. I really enjoy that. So I think that's a fantastic tip, Bridget. Really, really good. Well, Bridget, if anybody wants to get in touch with you or hear about your adventure in Germany, how can they do that?
Yeah, feel free to friend me on Facebook or to follow me on Instagram at b.e.brownie.
Well, thanks so much, and we can't wait to keep following you.
Thank you for having me. Have a good one.